1, 2, 3, 4.
God damn it.
You might notice that every time I do that intro, it's only 2 chords. It may not occur to you that I know more than 2. I actually know 4.
You know 4 chords?
Yeah, I know 4 whole chords, and maybe next time I'll do an intro with those other 2 chords. But for now,
I think the mystery reveal.
mystery
Chord reveal. Chord reveal at 1 million subs.
Jake, will you play me one new chord? Will you play me a chord I've never heard before?
Oh, dude, hold on. That's like 50,000 subs right there. Hold on.
Jake,
We
can you
have
boost
50,000 subs.
Jake, can you pump up your audio? Can you
Oh,
pump up your voice?
really?
Yeah, just
You're a
give
little
me a
quiet.
nice 4 dB.
How do I do that?
The banjo
Add-
was so loud, your microphone got scared.
Just bring the mic closer to your face.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. It's way over here.
Oh, now you sound wonderful.
Okay,
You sound awesome now.
great.
So yeah, so you guys, is this the first remote podcast again?
This is the
Wait,
first
the first one again?
first full remote podcast since
the world
yeah,
ended again.
Since the world ended again. Well, there was World War III with Iran, then it was Quarantine 1, then now it's Quarantine World End 2.
Don't forget about the wildfires.
Oh yeah,
the
and
fires,
wildfires.
the fires, the Area 51 age.
Oh yeah, remember
Yep.
last year? Remember last year the storming of Area 51?
Mhm.
What a good time.
The
We were so
golden
innocent.
era. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man,
I
take
know.
me back.
People really make a fuss about trying to storm Area 51 when they had nothing better to do.
Yeah. That's funny. That's really funny. Yeah. But no
Yeah.
one's doing it now.
Speaking of being quarantined and being at home, have you guys been watching a lot of shows?
Not really. Although I'm trying to find some time to watch the latest season of Norseman. It's that Viking comedy show on Netflix, and it's really freaking funny.
Let me write that down. You told me to watch that last time.
It's really, really funny.
Do you guys have like a I need to watch this list on your phone?
I have
Nah.
Sometimes I have that. Yeah.
Okay. I want to hear what's on it.
It's short. Here, let me see if there's anything on there now. But since baseball started back up, I've just been watching baseball. Why?
See, I got on here. I can check off Community. I've been watching that. I have Parasite. I need to watch that.
Oh yeah,
that movie's great.
Get Out, Jumanji.
Get Out's great. Jumanji?
Yeah, not the old one. The new one. I heard is really funny.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
cool.
Enemy at the Gates, Gone Girl, There Will Be Blood, Knives Out, Drive.
You never seen There Will Be Blood or Enemy at the Gates?
Nope.
Or Drive?
Nope.
Drive's all right.
Those are all good.
Drive is a way better trailer than a movie.
Drive was a really good trailer, honestly.
Drive is a trailer.
My Neighbor Totoro.
Well, you know, it's also Ryan Gosling's first role as like a badass, though. So
Yeah.
he was good enough to be believable.
I still actually want to watch Blood Machines. Like, there's a lot more.
Is that a Gosling in it?
No, it's that Carpenter Brute like sci-fi movie thing. It makes no sense, but it's really crazy looking.
For some reason they decided to have a French actor try to speak with like an American accent as opposed to just hiring a guy that speaks English or having the guy speak French and subtitle it.
Yeah.
And it gets really awkward. I mean, it's just the classic thing. It's like you have 2 or 3 or whatever, like amazing VFX artists and like art directors. And they're like, screw it, this is what we want to make. So they write a script and it's just, the script is inversely like it shows about as much inexperience as the VFX shows experience. And it's one of those kind of like tragic things where it's like, this would only get made because they are passionate about doing it and they had to, pour their heart and soul into it. But, one of the things that comes with that is that they have to write the script then and direct it. And you just end up with a thing that's so beautiful, but so janky.
They should have kept it in French because the thing is that way, then everyone around the world would like, like a lot of metal, that I listen to is not like in English. And I think it's probably better that way because it's like I get the emotion and the tone of what you're saying, but I don't need to like hear you, recite some random like Viking book.
Yeah, you don't have to realize how dumb it is.
Like, yeah, I don't have to realize how dumb it is.
Yeah, Mexican corrido ballads are the same way. Like for me, like I like listening to them just because they sound nice and I understand like they're bitching and moaning about something, but I don't necessarily want to know all the details,
Yeah. That's why foreign films always seem so heavy and like important. It's because you can't understand anything they're saying. So it's like, this must be good acting.
It's like, you assume it's good acting, It's like the acting gets a pass.
He's like, you left the fries off the order. What am I supposed to do?
This tragedy is the biggest tragedy that I will ever have. It's like, but in another language, it's just like, man, the passion.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's why anime still works the best that way too, because you get to read what they're saying and you hear the emotion behind the delivery. But if you were to actually say the words these anime characters are saying, it's just a meme.
Yeah, exactly. So all our videos are going to be in foreign languages from now on, because that's the key to good acting. That's the takeaway.
It is.
That's actually what we're having the podcast for today, is to announce that all of our pieces are going to be in whichever language we feel is most appropriate for.
I mean, we're still shooting them in English, but we're just going to dub them.
Wait, are we?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, you need them. Then you don't dub them, and then people are like, "Ooh, what's he saying?"
Yeah. Well, I hear that's how it, like, what is it like? Like I was reading it, like Inglourious Bastards, when Quentin Tarantino shot that. There's a lot of German in it, and he doesn't really speak German, and so it's like I just like that idea of like, all right, you're a German actor, give me the best like German take on that line, and he listens to it and he's like, sounded emotional. It's
like we'll dub it later. We'll put the subcaps in.
It's like you looked really intense when you're saying that, so it's probably a good delivery.
That's true. I was hooked through those scenes in that piece, and all.
It's a good movie.
The scene in the house where the girls are hiding under the house, and it's a good scene. A lot of good scenes in that movie.
Yeah. That reminds me of another fun translation fact of how like Arnold Schwarzenegger was not allowed to do the German dubs of his own movies because like his voice and the way he speaks like in German isn't considered like a theatrical or like manly sounding voice or Austrian either. It's the same language, but like
I don't know if they're particular about that stuff. They sounds like they must be.
They hired a different actor for the German version.
The history of Germany and Austria is not always peaceful. They've had their moments of feuds in the past.
I don't know much about it myself.
It's funny to think
have you ever seen The Sound of Music?
Oh yeah.
Classic,
of course.
I
learned recently that the actress that played Mary Poppins is also the lead in Sound of Music. I didn't realize that actress. Apparently everybody else in the world did. So
crazy.
It's a good movie. I rewatched it recently. Sound of Music. Wow. I mean, the pageantry, the magic. I mean, wow.
I was actually researching the way they did blue screens, quote unquote. It wasn't a blue screen actually for Mary Poppins, which was the other Julie Andrews movie that we were talking about. And you guys want to hear the crazy tech behind that?
Sure.
So they actually had blue screens like all the way back to like the 50s. And you can pull a key from a blue screen on film just by using various like blue and red filters. Basically, like, a blue filter lets the blue light through. A red filter basically blocks all the blue light. So by using a combination of them, you can basically eventually print on the black and white film a pure black and white image by filtering out the blue, then filtering out the other colors and doing a couple different passes. And then you can use that black and white film to project one part of a film, then another part of the film, using that black and white film as like a mask. So every time they did that, they always had blue fringing, which is pretty similar to what you'd even have these days with green screen. But then a guy working for Walt Disney was like, instead of a blue screen, which also means that nobody can wear blue, what if we lit a screen only with sodium vapor. Wait, somebody's knocking at my door.
Okay.
Hold on to the story.
Everyone hold while Niko answers his door. Welcome to the Corridor Podcast, where we really just get down with you guys.
Oh yeah.
And,
really focus and hone in on the discussion.
hone in on the discussion and get something, get to the meat of it.
Well, I might as well check my door.
Should I? Actually, you know what? Someone's at my door here.
I mean, I'm just gonna check just in case.
Okay, let me.
No,
nobody.
Nah, I felt like it would be good to just seize that opportunity.
Okay, yeah, no one. Don't worry, no one's here.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
no one's here either. So,
okay.
But that's the thing. People could show up anytime. There could have been someone about to knock.
I mean, yeah. Just the other day, just yesterday, I was walking through my living room. Sure enough, delivery man right there
pulls up.
Yeah, walked right up with a package. Could have been any moment. It could have happened.
Satisfying moment when you answered the door before they knock.
Yep. And you're like, hey, don't try to run this place. I know. I'm watching my doors.
That was a door-to-door salesman.
What was he selling?
Pest control.
You got any pests?
Not really. It's like, you got some ants? I'm like, I got ants.
He's doing that 5 after 5 thing. There's a sales technique. I learned this when I was working that door.
I can build a small fence for your ants.
It's called 5 after 5.
If your ants are running everywhere, I'm going to build tiny walls. I have tiny.
We're an ethical pest control company. Okay, we build tiny walls for tiny creatures that slowly manage them out of your home in an ethical way that still allows them to survive outside.
Basically, they make like a little trail that goes to your neighbor's house.
So we have nested topics here. We have to learn about 5 for 5 or whatever it's called, and then we have to go back up and talk about sodium vapor and Mary Poppins.
Yeah. So let's just work back up, starting with 5 after 5.
Dig ourselves out of this conversation hole.
So 5 after 5 is when you're in sales and you hit 5 businesses or people or whatever potential clients after 5 o'clock.
Wow.
Because that's when people are done working. And the theory is like that you go there and then they're like ready to have a conversation because
that's
they're
prime
not
time
in the middle of their day. Yeah.
Little do you know, we had a podcast going on.
You just bring him in, dude. Bring him in.
Just bring him in.
Yeah. See if he knows about sodium vapor.
All right. So sodium vapor, right? Okay. Yeah. So here's where we were going with all that.
So how do you light? Hold on. How do you light something with sodium vapor?
So sodium
it's just
vapor
a chemical.
Well, no, like those old streetlights that you saw. Like,
I know.
Sam's introducing the conversation, but yeah, the old orange streetlights. But basically, it's like the other noble gases, where when you run a current through it, the gas emits light at a very specific wavelength. So sodium vapor is something like 540 nanometers or something like that. But it's a very specific slice of the spectrum. And so they lit a screen with these lights, and then they light the subjects in the foreground and all that kind of stuff. And as the light entered into camera, they had a prism that would split just that wavelength of 540 nanometers or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact number of the sodium vapor light. It would split just that one frequency off into a second strip of film that was black and white. So you'd have your color film and you'd have your black and white film, and they're both getting exposed at the same time, but the black and white film is only seeing the sodium vapor light. So it gives you a perfect black and white cutout against the background without having to do multiple filter processes or anything like that. It's perfectly in sync. And the crazy thing is, because it's just that one spectrum, you could have somebody wearing blue, they could be wearing green, they could be wearing orange even. There wasn't a color that you couldn't use because it's just that one frequency that you couldn't that would get filtered out. And it could also do transparency. So one of the things we'll be looking at in VFX Artists React next week is the scene where they're dancing and that kind of stuff with like the penguins. And Mary Poppins has a veil on. And if you think about it, doing like a transparent veil is hard today with a green screen. And they're doing it back in like the 50s or whatever with Mary Poppins.
Man, I'm surprised it didn't take off.
So you can get film. This is going to show my ignorance of the film world. the traditional actual film world, but you can get film that only records or captures a certain wavelength in particular.
No, you kind of can, but what they had, the prism would split only that wavelength out to a second strip of film. So that strip of film was only getting hit with photons that were in that spectrum because it's the prism that isolated it.
So they're rolling two reels at once. They're rolling the main footage for the color image and then a separate reel simultaneously rolling. It's like, imagine how like 3D cameras are constructed right now, where you basically have a one-way mirror. So that way you have like one lens point and you have like one camera pointing at your subject, and your second eye is actually usually mounted above, but then the second camera reflects to the same, because cameras are too wide to put right next to each other, so they stack them like this usually for 3D shoots.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, so being able to isolate that exact like wavelength, let them have things like motion blur and stuff and transparent things. And they actually did use it. They used it a whole bunch. They used it for the birds, for all like the bird elements that be flying across the screen. That's how they got like the transparent mats for that. And the one catch was that they were only ever able to build one prism that was able to split the light correctly. So that they only had one camera in the entire world that could do the world's best blue screen, basically.
What? What?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah,
that's cutting edge. That's like diving in and we'll just make a machine that does that.
Yeah,
I gotta admire that way of thinking, though. Like,
yeah, everything's all mechanical and like just mechanical, I guess. It's
like all steam.
Yeah, it's all steam. It's all steampunk. It's steampunk film, steampunk VFX.
Yeah. The old cameras used to run on gas and steam and coal,
water vapor.
Everything still runs on diesel generators outside of the studio.
Yeah. Well, what kind of power do they got going in LA now?
Electricity. I don't know what you're asking with that question. It's like, yeah, everything's still steam powered here.
No, but like what
whale blubber.
So where we're from, they got the LNS King plant, right? And that's a coal burning power plant.
Right?
There's a nuclear power plant down south of here.
That's right. There's the San Onofre nuclear.
Yeah, and then the rest of it is just basic old fashioned coal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's some wind. There's some solar.
There's some wind stuff north of here.
Like crazy laser discs that beam all sunlight into one molten salt.
Well, yeah, we have those going on in the desert right now.
Yeah.
Man, who knew there's Google reviews for power plants?
Like, there's Google reviews for power plants?
Great power.
Can you find a
coming out of this baby?
Find a bad review.
Really? They have, wow.
Can you find a bad
review?
Stayed the
night. Here we go. San Onofre power plant reviews. 5 stars. Stayed the night. I feel okay now, but I've noticed my hair has started to fall out, and I've thrown up a couple times. 5 stars. 1 star. Stop building these on waterways. Unacceptable.
Wow. Oh wow! You said that mirror one I was talking about, it has 342 reviews. Quite a sight from I-15. They should post signs with the name and encourage visitors. Unfortunately, I have not been there, but was able to get amazing aerial view from plane.
Yeah.
So apparently birds die in that ray. If they fly through there, they just immediately are vaporized.
Like, what is this ray?
The ray of sun in like the pyramid sun in the desert right before you get to Prim, Nevada, when you're on I-15.
That solar plant.
The Ivanpah solar electrical generating system.
It's the world's hottest point.
World's hottest point.
Gabe Perry here 2 months ago, 5 thumbs ups, 1-star review. Uses more fossil fuel to keep the plant running than clean energy it produces.
Dang.
What does that mean? What? There's literally no way. That like, where's the evidence?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a nuclear power plant.
That. It's not
this
nuclear.
one. No, this one's solar.
Oh.
Yeah, no, not the.
Here we go.
Not the San Onofre boobs. The
4 stars. 4 stars for the nuclear power plant. This is one of my favorite nuclear power plants. However, the steam generators in the reactor were cracked and leaking, so they had to shut the plant down and start decommissioning it. It's a disappointment for an otherwise exceptionally designed power plant.
It's for San Onofre.
Wow.
The reactor's cracked.
That's a great review.
That's
Is
a
that what
really
they
good
just
review.
said?
Oh wow, here we go. 4 stars, 4 out of 5. It was great to live here while I was homeless. They had a great supply of running water that had some extra flavor. It was definitely not worth the stage 3 cancer. But at least I got an extra arm out of it. Comes in handy often. Overall, great experience. Although I don't remember much of it because the cancer ruined me memory.
Oh my god!
Me memory.
Somebody is just trolling hard.
That's a good review.
Did you say that? Did you say that one of the reactors cracked?
That one guy said that. I mean, maybe it isn't online anymore.
Well, maybe they're repairing it. I guess that would be common.
It's closed. It's closed. Yeah, it's not actually.
The thing is, you want to shut it down before it.
And once again, that review is correct. It was closed in 2013 after steam generators failed.
Wow.
Okay.
So Quarter Digital has Google reviews.
Yeah, but you can't trust them.
Hey, we got a flawless 5.0, by the way. 89 reviews, all 5 stars. I'm sure somebody's going to jank it up now that I mentioned it, but
yeah, but that's good. It's good while it lasted.
89 reviews, all 5 stars.
Yeah, dude, we're like,
oh my god!
If somebody calls the Better Business Bureau, we're number 1.
Yeah, we're number 1, guys. Welcome to the Corridor Cast. But we're number 1.
We're number 1
reviews
in general.
Proudly number 1. Here's a good one. 2 years ago from Relics, he says, "Car less than 1 wheel." 10 out of 10 would subscribe again.
They have an in-house Tom Cruise double. His name is Clint. Wrong. Their special chai tea is great, and so is the udon noodle soup. Would eat here and sleep on roof again.
Well, what can I say? They're THEIR Corridor Digital.
Yeah.
Good times.
Good times.
So power. Sodium vapor. Right?
Sodium vapor. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much the end of that one.
Not much to come back to on that topic.
Hey, you guys want to hear about a good YouTube rabbit hole that I fell down recently?
Great.
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So I found out there's an entire subculture on YouTube dedicated to documenting fires and watching how the firefighters put them out. And then just a whole sweeping community of people that are just all armchair firefighters critiquing it. Always super critical. It's never thanks for putting out this home. It's watching where these guys put the truck. They just clearly didn't plan for this kind of a drafting situation. What they really should have done is poke some holes in the vents underneath the roof on the right. It's got to be all 50-year-old men just debating the best way they should have put out the fire of this house.
50-year-old volunteer firefighters.
Yeah. And it's just hundreds of these videos. It's great.
I really think that's the start of something kind of amazing here. There's ride share services, and we're even seeing Citizen being these social media style crime awareness. If they did a some sort of peer-to-peer or gig style firefighting service, where if a fire happens, you tag it with your phone, and it basically goes out to a network of amateur firefighters.
Yo guys.
Who all then make comments on how you're doing and tell you what to do differently.
Well, yeah, but they can also tag themselves as one of the firefighters now on that job, and they can come in and actually make a difference.
What if we did this for not just fires, but for all public services and general services?
Oh my God.
They should do it with cops and firefighters and ambulances.
Hey, this guy's robbing a liquor store.
Or it's HYLP, I've broken my leg. Who's out there to drive me?
Having a heart attack. Anybody?
Yeah, it's but you'd make a really easy, quick list of the problems, so that way, if you are in trouble, it's only one click. There's only 4 or 5 ailments listed that are kind of generalized.
Yeah, you have 5 general problems that can only happen.
And then there's just real simple icons, like a heart with a crack down the middle. or like an arm with like a boo-boo on it.
The ambulance symbol. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's just like a question mark, which is like, I don't know what's wrong with me,
I don't know what's wrong.
but I really could use an extra hand.
I don't know what I need, but I know that I need help.
Yeah. It's urgent.
That's
You
Urgent.
just
It's
get one
urgent.
of each.
That's like the random encounters on Craigslist or whatever it's called on Craigslist.
Yeah.
That's that.
And then there's like an actual button at the bottom where it's like an extra like $5 or $10, but you hit that and like instead of a dude in his like Toyota Camry pulling up, it'll be an actual ambulance, like a real one. Like that's, but it's a little pricier because
Yeah, premium.
Yeah,
premium. It's for premium users.
Pay extra for premium.
So Uber Red.
It's like Uber. Yeah, it's Uber Red.
The service is called.
I think the firefighting one though is a little better to start out with though, because
it's called HYLP. It's HYLPE.
HYLP.
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 Help me.
Can you call me a HYLP? What's wrong?
Somebody shows up. Hey, here for Marcus? Marcus? Okay.
Marcus? I'm looking for Marcus. Are you Marcus? And you're like,
Did anybody order a HYLP?
Who ordered the HYLP?
Somebody order a help.
But it has to be spelled with a Y. HYLP.
Yeah. The Y. The HYLP is like, because it sets it apart,
Or this is not funny because it's just so lame, but helper HLPR.
I know they already used fire for Firefest with the Y, but the fire version of that is definitely FYRE.
Yeah.
Fire.
Fire.
Helper is the direct messaging system that you can use to message other people.
I guess what is it? The law enforcement one's police, but with a Y too, like POLYCE.
Police.
Man.
Yeah, I think that works. I think we should get right on that.
We should get on that one.
After we launch this website.
Yeah, it'll be a subscription service. Just
after
like
we release the subscription service, we're going to get into that Silicon Valley startup game.
Yeah, we're gonna be venture capitalists in the Silicon Valley startup game. That's where this is all going.
We definitely need to beta test it in the most lawless country as a proof of concept, though.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah, you take it to
gosh knows where.
Yeah, some
where's a place? There's got to be some place with no laws.
There's
Antarctica.
Places where if you have enough money, it's like there's no laws.
Yeah, I think Antarctica's good for like the medical one, but the fire one, I don't know.
Ocean based.
You could do it like the opposite though. If things get too cold.
Maybe go to like Micronesia. That way, if you burn down an entire island,
Micronesia,
it can only go so far.
Yeah. Wow. Lots of good plans coming out of this podcast, guys. We're recording this one, right?
Oh yeah.
Hey Christian, we're recording this, right?
Let's save this one. We should save this one.
I'm saving it. I'll make sure we're saving it.
Thanks. Cool.
Well, we were going to talk about the site, and I wanted to take some time. At least we should take some time and spend just a few minutes going through because we did the announcement video last week on Corridor Crew.
Yeah, the future of our company.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions about what we're doing. And obviously we're going to address a lot of those in the launch video, but also the launch video is kind of a separate thing that talks about what the site has to add. And so maybe we take some time and we talk about there's a few big questions, one that I saw all the time. Guys, does this mean you're stopping YouTube? You're creating a subscription website. So
it's actually gonna be TikTok only from now on out, guys.
Yeah, it's TikTok only. No, so just for those of you who haven't heard, I'm sure most of you have, but we're doing our own subscription site, corridordigital.com, in addition to everything we're doing on YouTube. Now, why would we do that?
Why the heck are you doing that?
Well, first things first. The first reason is that YouTube, in and of itself, has its own ecosystem. It's got its own economics to it, and everything you do on that platform is wonderful as it is. Everything you do on that platform is specifically for that platform. Everything you write, everything, the way that you write everything, by and large, there's some exceptions here and there, but by and large, everything we create is that on these channels is made for YouTube, the YouTube audience, and the YouTube ecosystem. Now, over 10 years, we've continued to hone that and are fortunate enough to be some of the people that have success making a living doing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where do you go from there? Say you want to turn around and you want to make
something
well, that's not just, hey, this is going to appeal to a wide enough YouTube audience to get a large enough number of views so that the 10th of a penny that we get per video or per viewer is going to be enough to support the cost that it costs to make. That only gives you a box, this box. And it's like, if it doesn't fit in this box, what else is there for you in life? Right? There's Netflix, there's other subscription services, right? There's that you can sell your work to. You can go down the Silicon Valley route where you're like hoping for somebody to come in and finance a movie, but by and large, that format of independent movie financing is like, there's maybe like 5 people, 10 people that are doing that right now in the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to grow though.
What will?
People doing their own self-financing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about the traditional, like someone steps in as a financier to finance an independent feature film, and then that goes out through the traditional theatrical route.
Oh yeah. So and all those companies basically die after like 2 movies because
right. So there's some of them that turn into the Blumhouses of the world, but that's why there's Blumhouse and like, a couple others, maybe handful. And then you have the big boys, you have the big studio models that have their own system of economics, Disney, Marvel Studios, what have you.
Yeah. And these days that's all kind of based on tried and true. We know that this sold, so we'll keep making more of it.
Yeah. And again, there's nothing wrong with any of these models. Like, I don't mean to like go on a tirade here and be like, oh, you can't do, like, no, these are all great. The fact that anything that is that occurs in an audiovisual format can be sold or marketed against to make earnings off of so that people can continue to do it again is a testament to like the success of modern times, right? Like, at no point before this, I mean, you had people in theater and stuff like that back in the day, but like at no point before this have as many people been able to be successful at making a living at creating audiovisual content than now. But it still leaves something to be desired. And that's really what this whole thing gets down to. It gets down to creating another model, one that doesn't, again, like, remember when we were first starting YouTube and it was all like, so is this TV? Is this movies? And the whole thing was like, no, it's just YouTube. That's what it is. This is the same thing. This is just our site. These are these shows that we want to make for it.
Yeah, well, I think it's been a really big challenge because it's kind of like it's over the last decade, even with like movies, everyone talks about like the gap of like, oh, where's the like $20 to $40 million big budget action movie? You feel it feels like there's that split where it's like you see that, the micro budget thing exploding, and then also the 200, 300 million plus model exploding. Yeah, because they can bank on IPs versus the smaller ones now are like, all right, well, we can bank on making enough movies so that way when one is successful, they'll pay off the rest.
Right.
And so that creates a gap even in that industry. But then when it comes to like the online world, so to speak, like that gap, there's not even like another side to that gap right now. We just know what the bottom end is basically. It's like you can do this ad supported stuff on YouTube, which works only if like you are a 1 to 2 to maybe 3 creator team. But there's like that, the upper end of that gap still hasn't been figured out either. Because I mean, frankly, like anything that looks produced, so to speak, on YouTube is basically made at a loss. Just because, that ad system can't support it. But
your per minute cheap like cost needs to be really low for ad supported stuff.
And I mean that's how we've been doing it too.
Or you have 10 million people watch your content, but the problem is it's very hard to make something that 10 million people are passionate about.
Well, and here's I think the thing that puts us in a slightly different situation than most people. Why most people aren't going out and making sites. I mean, there are, like, I've seen a lot of people, like a lot of podcasts and shows, like they have their main site where they release like a full like 1 or 2 hour video, and then they'll post like a highlight clip on YouTube. I've been watching this one channel called All Gas No Breaks lately, and they're just like these hilarious interviews where they go to conventions and just find the weirdest people.
All gas, no breaks.
In the weeds. But like, they have that model of like, all right, we're posting highlights, so to speak, on YouTube, but obviously all the full content's still on their site. But it's like, and my point was though, like it's a tough situation, or it's a tough transition, because I think the main thing is like the moment you open a subscription site, there is kind of like, or the moment you start paying for it, there needs to be that guarantee of some level of quality or familiarity. It's like if Netflix was greenlighting like literally every YouTuber's movie pitch, like it would be all over the place with quality. And like, so that subscription
is quite all over the place with
it kind of is too. There's tons of terrible junk on there too, but I think the biggest thing is like you have to be able to guarantee that, like that level of quality, so to speak. And quality comes in millions of forms, not just talking about using a good camera, but like if you're going to put money down for something, you want to, it shouldn't be a gamble, so to speak, and thankfully after making these videos for a decade here on YouTube, I think we've earned a spot there of like, all right, like you're probably pretty familiar with what we've been doing. So I think that definitely has put us in a good position, and that's, I feel like, the biggest draw anyways for someone to subscribe.
Yeah, you're right. That subscription fee goes into exactly that. It goes into guaranteeing that the stuff that we make for the site lives and runs on that model, and that model allows us to quality control it all the way through. So, it's better to not come out with 100 shows, or to try to fold in all of our YouTube channels into this model to then all of a sudden make them work on that model. But to really, like, the thing that I love about the site is that it boils down the essence of what our job is for the purpose of the viewer. It completely takes, you take out YouTube for a second. Like, obviously, if you subscribe to the site, you get all of our YouTube content, right? Ad free and all that stuff. But you take away merch, you take away like other projects that we've done to go behind other paywalls. And you just talk about like, okay, if we were to go out and make shows directly for the people who are paying for them, that's it.
Yeah. Direct to consumer.
Yeah.
Well, like, I hate to say it, but like, partially just because of like mental health, but also I think because we're releasing so much content, I'm finding myself recently over the last few months here, like basically only checking video stats and not reading comments on videos. And that's usually just because I'm like, look, if the video is doing well, that means it's a good video. If it's got good numbers, it's a good video. And it's not necessarily what people are saying. And that's because we've been working in a system for so many years at this point that like that is the metric for success, so to speak.
Yeah. So Sam, you and I were working on the script for this launch video that we're going to be shooting over the next couple of days here. And like one of the interesting things that we're writing about is this concept of audience and like the power of being a subscriber. So, there's this statistic that I bring up, which is right now, and this is true, your view on YouTube is worth 1/10 of a penny. So when you go and you watch a video, on average, one of our videos, on average, we're getting 1/10 of a penny for your view.
Yeah.
And so, in other words, like YouTube really devalues the viewer. The viewer isn't worth that much on YouTube.
Yeah.
Whereas in contrast, if you're a subscriber on the site, like if number of people it would take to equal one subscription for 1 month from one person on the site is 4,000 people. So you have 4,000 views on YouTube versus one person for 1 month on the website. So like, just one iteration of the subscription. And that's crazy that, the one person on our website is as valuable as 4,000 views or 4,000 people on YouTube. And I think it shows you that like with that metric, that shift, in power, you can really make something that's tailored to the view, like to a subscribed viewer. We can make something, we don't need a huge audience to make good stuff. We don't need a huge audience to be able to support ourselves or to go out there and justify making a really cool piece of filmmaking. Because just you have so much more value and so much more voice and power as a subscriber, even at a really low subscription rate, versus sitting there and just us trying to grind out the ad revenue little by little from just attracting as many eyeballs as possible.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy. Like, I know you've said like, this is what it equals, but like, I think what really puts it into perspective is you, let's say you take one of these channels we're running here. Let's say there's a VFX artist react video that comes out, or I think actually maybe even Node's a better example because like it's a smaller audience and what we're making is way more tailored towards what that audience enjoys. And so like right now with like big in the grand scheme of things, the history of Node, let's say we release a video that gets 400,000 views in like the first week or so. We would consider that a very above average video. Like obviously there's a couple that like hit the algorithm and get 1 million or 2 views or whatever, but like when they hit 400,000, it's that sweet spot of like, hey, this is a really good video and it's not necessarily hitting the algorithm, but people, well, they're connecting with it and they like it. And so you think 400,000 people, that's a lot. All right. So when you start taking that division there, all right, now let's say you release 4 of those in a row over the course of a month. All right. So like that is like 1.6 million views there. But the thing is that those 4 videos, when you're comparing that to like the website or the subscribers on that, we're like, wow, we got 1.6 million views. Oh my gosh, so many people like it.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of 400 people on the website.
Yeah.
All right. 1.6 million views, 400 people.
400 people watching 4 videos.
400 people watching these 4 videos. So it's nuts. It's nuts. And so like what that transforms it to is like, well, look, we got 400 people like, and let me remind you, imagine these 400 people really care and like are actually digging this stuff. Well, it's like, who are you going to listen to? Are you going to listen to what the algorithm spits back at you or this much smaller group of dedicated individuals who enjoy this? It's not necessarily even a casual viewing. It's like, no, here's some subscription money, like, and ideally that's where you find that perfect balance of like, here's something that can't exist on the YouTube platform that we like to make, and also this much smaller audience really enjoys to see. And like, it's going to take a little time to get there, but I think that's why the whole like projects page, so to speak, is going to get us there because we have that direct feedback.
Yeah. That's a really, I think that analogy really hits it home. Like I think people are really pretty jaded by subscription services these days, especially since we've gone through now the first phase of like life forms of subscription service,
Yeah.
They all started in like, 2010, 11, 12. And then there was all this fervor around them and all these venture capitalists invested all this money. And then, 2013, 14, 15 rolled around, a bunch of the first phases died. And then, second phases died, I guess. And now we're sort of in like, now we're 10 years basically into like subscription models in a real way. Subscription models have been around obviously a lot longer than that.
Well, actually, sorry, now that I mention it, like when I was talking about the gaps earlier in content, I feel like the top ends of the gaps for online content are kind of defined by your like Go 90s and Queebies.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because what the thing is like that's different from Netflix, because Netflix caters towards the like cinema. It's like the low end of the cinema gap, so to speak. Not to say it's low end content specifically, but from like if we're going to categorize things broadly, you know, Netflix has huge movies on it and stuff. So it's like, you know, it's catering to that realm. When you look at the Go 90s and Queebies, what they're catering towards is the high end of the online audience, so to speak. But the problem is that it's like so high end that it's like it almost hits Netflix. You know, it's like so close that it's
Right.
like what this doesn't even really feel like
Are you paying
curated.
Yeah.
Like
who's the audience?
Like who's making these videos? That's what I want to know. Like is it, because if it's just a multi-billion-dollar corporation, then there's like zero loyalty from the executives to the creators, so to speak. You know, it's like if you really like a show, it's like who cares? No one there cares.
Yeah.
They're just looking at their stats too.
Investment. Yeah.
You know.
So when you think about it that way, like there's been a lot of people saying, "Oh, you know, good luck," but I don't think it's going to work. But good luck. But I don't think people really realize the disparity in value that we're currently dealing with, and that 400 equals to 1.6 million analogy. That's the easiest, most direct way to understand that.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, also, I think when we look at like Patreon and stuff, it's like we have our Patreon numbers, and like if that's any sense of like what we can be doing with this website here, you know, I think we're going to be off to a pretty good start, because, you know, Patreon alone, I mean, obviously they're all converted into subscribers now.
Yeah.
Anyone who's, you know, on the tiers, but like,
yeah, real quick, we should clarify that anybody, this is the one signal to be part of the launch video, but anybody who's a Patreon, or sorry, anybody who's a patron or a supporter at the $5 tier or over on Patreon gets a free subscription to the website.
Yeah. And I think that's super important, because I forget who I had the conversation with, but like I was asking someone like if they had a Patreon. I was like, maybe at VidCon, and they responded by saying, it's like, no, I don't like that, because like you're not doing anything for them. You know what I mean? It's like they felt weird, because it's like, well, you just don't. Is this like a tip jar? You know, basically, it's like you're paying for something, but you're not really getting anything afterwards. And they just weren't that cool with that relationship. And you know, after I heard that, I haven't been able to unthink it. And so being able to basically go, hey, everyone on Patreon, like we've accessed the API. Your emails are now registered. You now have a subscription. It's like, it's kind of vindication.
Have something for your support.
Yeah, it's like it's vindication.
That's been the longest and hardest battle with Patreon. Is it's great, but there is this element of a tip jar in it, and that obviously for some people that doesn't work. Like you know, some people are just, they want to see us make whatever we're going to make, and they're there to support us, and they've been with us on Patreon, and they've helped make all this possible. But other people say, hey, if I'm going to pay something, I want to get something. Totally logical, right? And now with Patreon, you can do, we have live streams, which are fun. Those are cool. You have, you can give out like different sort of reward tiers, but you can't give people a vote in what you're going to make next. And then just, I guess you can, but
we tried that in the early days, but the system didn't support it. You're like, we were like, hey, a high tier, you know, like one of the goals was like, hey, we're going to make like, what was it, like a Last of Us Mario concept. But the problem with that though, was that like, it wasn't there's no choice. It was like a one-way road to it. And by the time we got there, the idea really wasn't really that relevant. And so it's just kind of like, oh crap, like we have to mix this up or something, because it wasn't like true choice, so to speak.
Yeah, there's just that. I guess you can make exclusive stuff and distribute it directly to your patrons, so they have that. But how, you know, in terms of like scaling that or offering, it's like, what do you do? So say you're a filmmaker, right? You go out and you make a show, and now you have 1,000 patrons, and you want to distribute that show to your patrons who paid for it, right? What do you send them an MP4?
Yeah.
Like, where's the experience?
It's a downloadable file, and I know it sucks because like I see some podcasts I listen to, they got Patreons, and it's like, hey, if you're a patron, you get an extra like double length podcast, but it's like, well, yeah, I'll download the MP3, I guess, or something. Like, how do I even? Like, great. What do I do with the file now?
We used to do that with the project files back in the day. We used to have to upload them, and then you give people a link, and then they can download the project files. But it's like there's not a real experience there, Like, you can't.
Not to mention that's just like when we were doing it, it was like, hey, what do we do with these 100 gigabytes? Like, we got like kicked off of like 2 or 3 services for violating terms of service. Because of that, like we lost the 1-in-1.
Because if we would have had to pay for it, all the money that came from the patrons would have gone into that.
Yeah, it was like that's how we lost the 1-in-1 account, because they were like, hey, I know we said like unlimited bandwidth, but when we said that, we didn't mean like 100 gigabytes to like a few people. Like, see, that was like 3 terabytes of data right yesterday, and it was just so that got shut down.
We said unlimited. We didn't really mean unlimited.
Like, I don't.
Classic.
I want to be clear. I'm not. I don't want to come off as if I'm bashing Patreon. Okay, like there's plenty of people on there.
Oh, we're not bashing
it. Have incredible models and like have direct relationships with their audience, and the whole thing created a step to separate artists and creators being dependent on like corporate platforms like Google and YouTube and Facebook that ultimately require this other person in the room, Mr. Brand Money guy, who's spending money in that ecosystem to make it all possible. They created an ecosystem that doesn't have that.
Yeah. And that's great. But just what we have with the site now is a way for us to make that directly to the viewer and giving them at least the best product we can offer. It's like we make videos. That's the best thing we can do. So let's give somebody the best viewing experience for our videos, and a way to help us, make even better, unique projects specifically for them. Which it gets tough to do that on Patreon for us, at least,
Yeah. Well, because you get caught up with the whole like, all right, well, I can't actually do what I do on Patreon, but I can make trinkets. It's like I can spend a lot of time doing all these like auxiliary things that I think can be really cool, but then it ends up being this whole like weird like little subsystem that kind of prevents you from doing what the people on Patreon signed up for in the first place and they wanted to see in the first place,
Yeah.
So,
like the current
environment, that's why the website basically does it all. Boom. It's like when we pitch the website, like what the list is like basically all the stuff on Patreon, except now you actually get to watch the videos without ads. It's like, oh, that's cool. Your actual product without ads. Cool. And then the exclusive shows, blah, blah, blah. But then the merch discount, that's not on Patreon. I mean, the live streams are.
But the live streams are now hosted on our site. So it's kind of
now hosted. Yeah. So it's pretty sweet.
At the end of the day, we just wanted like, our patrons have been amazing and have really helped us, make Corridor what it is today. Because up until we had the, VFX React and Summon React shows, like all of our channels are pretty much small volume channels, including Corridor, because, Corridor, we had videos that come out and they'd be big once in a while, but outside of that, they'd come out once every 2 months, once every month. And, for us to survive, we had to have, support from like Patreon, plus our ad revenue, plus our brand integrations, plus our merch sales, combining all these things together. And you take any one of those things out and suddenly, the table doesn't balance anymore and it falls over. But this, like, ideally the site just lets us, like, going directly to you, the listener, or you, the audience member, you, the viewer, like going directly to that person at the end of the day. that's where the real business model lies. And everything up to this point, like, the 70s, 80s, 90s, et cetera, all taught us that there needs to be a system in place between us and the viewer, because at the time there wasn't, you had to have some sort of technological solution to deliver the product to the person.
Right.
And then of course Napster comes along and it's like, wait a minute, some guy in his dorm room made a way for me to access all the music in the world. And he did it for free, and it's free. Like, And you're telling me the multi-billion-dollar industry, the music industry, couldn't do this first?
They could.
And it's like, that's the situation we're in.
Well, it's almost a blessing in disguise that already happened.
It is,
definitely. Because what happened there, and we were having this conversation just before we started, but like you had traditional music, and take music, take movies, take whatever, but like in this example, it's the music industry. They had 100 years of blood, sweat, and tears that had gone into creating this one specific model. Mm-hmm. And that specific model was very, very good at selling CDs at $20 a CD.
You guys talking about Napster?
Yeah, at $15 to $20 a CD. And that was back in the late 90s, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I saw like a $22 sticker on a CD, I was like, what the fuck?
$22, yeah.
$22?
You couldn't buy singles. Remember, you couldn't buy singles unless it was like months after they'd already been released and played on the radio. You could only buy the albums.
Yeah, there's a whole thing where they play the single on the radio. They put the single on an album with filler to make you buy the whole album. It was a waste of money, etc. It
was a whole machine.
And of course, if you wanted to listen to it, you had to take the physical device, put it in your physical thing, and listen to it.
Dude, I know
store
oh my God.
that media somewhere physically in your place.
Dude, and 90s music was just clickbait.
Make one good signal. No Limit Records?
You hire a really good producer to make one dope track, and then you just like pump out the rest of the album, and you lead with that great single.
Do you guys remember No Limit Records?
No.
Oh yeah, that one the rappers
would come out
like
with
Master P or whatever.
Master P was the main producer behind the whole operation, and they would come out with new artists almost every 3 weeks, and they wouldn't even take the time. They were producing these so mass produced so quickly that they wouldn't even take the time to do album photo shoots for each album. They would take a photo, they would take a green screen photo of the artist, and then they would comp it in to a background of like jewels and cars and like photoshopped.
Like each one looked the same.
Yep, and it was just photoshopped, and then all the albums were exactly the same, and then they used the exact same technique every time. It was a new artist with a new song, and then here's the album.
And that's the original like Russian DIY YouTube video mill.
And then if any of them were successful, they would just. And then if anyone was successful, then okay, here's your second album. Okay, now we're gonna feature you on Master P's album. Okay, and now we're gonna give you your own label. And then they did that for like 6 years, and they just ran home with it because that was at the very end of before it all came crashing down. And this is why I'm saying it was a blessing in disguise, is because they got very good at creating that model so that when somebody, and of course they didn't want to give up that model, because if you control that model, it's way too profitable to do anything about, even though you're, effectively creating a void where eventually people are going to be pissed. And so as soon as people figured out that it was all just MP3 files that were being created around for no money at all, then people were like, well, what the heck? The music industry is, been ripping us off this whole time. And so people were so upset about that they just came in, and people were completely okay with like legitimately complete piracy, complete anarchic privacy. Sorry, piracy.
Yeah. But yeah, man, if I can get a movie in 2 minutes for less hassle than it takes for me to use a professional service, like honestly, like I don't pay money because like I pay the money for the convenience. I want to just get the movie and watch it instantly. Like that's all I want. I don't care about anything else. I'll pay you $5 per movie for that to happen. And that's the thing that's a big a critique that I hear a lot of these days. Is like, it's just turning into like the equivalent of cable TV from the 90s, where you pay $70 because you have to pay $5 for this and $5 for this and $5 for this, etc. Right. And then rather than having one umbrella, one Netflix with all the shows, now I have to subscribe to like 10 different things. And it's like, that's how it's going to be, honestly.
Yeah,
like,
but you don't have to.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. In cable television, you had to. Cable television, you had to subscribe to all the channels.
Yeah.
But now you can pick. Now you can pick which channels you want. And like at the end of the day, like I get the complaint. It would be nice if everything was just under one subscription. But that's not like there was kind of a brief moment where that's how the industry was. You had like Netflix and you had Hulu, and that was kind of it.
Mhm.
And guess what, guys? That was the end of it. We'll never ever return to that. There will never ever be just one subscription again.
Not
that
only
just
that,
had to
but if
be.
there was, they'd just jack up the price until they got to the $20 CD model without telling you.
That's true, but that's just how things go. It's like we happen to have gone through a little technological shift, and it was great while it lasted. Like, hey, there was a time when there wasn't like a whole bunch of ads on the internet. It didn't last very long, but there was a brief moment. And it was beautiful while it was, and it's gone forever. And by the end of the day, it's like it's not really a bad thing. Like, it feels like it's a bad thing, but it's not really a bad thing to have all these artists able to independently offer you their content, and for you to be able to pick from anyone you want, and in turn have that much more power and importance to that artist because you're directly just supporting them. Like, that's the big thing, is the internet's still making that dream come true of like, hey, all you need to do, like, take your time, build a website, put it together, and you can have a direct relationship with somebody. You can have an actual industry. You can have actual economics with just you and the person who wants to consume whatever you're making. You don't need to go through any gatekeepers. You don't need to go through any other industries. You don't need to go through any other entities, which is how it was back in the day. You had to go through all that because the cost of distributing is really, the only cost is the website. And of course, the data for the website, but that's it. It's insignificant. Distributing on the internet is insignificant, generally speaking, in terms of data costs. Yeah, sure. It might cost a couple of bucks for a big file, et cetera. But like, compared to like having to haul like a crate of CDs in a truck to a spot,
specific locations globally.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
No, it's totally, and in that, from that perspective, it's basically free from that perspective, even though it's not. There's significant costs regarding like the bandwidth and the accessing of specifically video files are super expensive. But
I think it really just comes down to like how much of your life you want to waste watching ads.
Right.
I think that's a big part of it. Like if how much YouTube do you watch? It's like, or how many ad-based services do you subscribe to? It's like over the course of a week or two, it's like the time that adds up. Even on Instagram, it's just like, Jesus.
Yeah. And I don't know. I will never subscribe to a service if it gives me ads at the same time. I know. I would rather pay the money and get the content like untarnished.
The gall of Quibi to offer 2 tiers of subscriptions. You're telling me that like whatever their low one is like $5 a month, but it still has ads.
Okay, like, you guys want to hear something that's
what
really
are you paying for?
This one's really gonna burn your biscuits.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna calm down so that way I can like shoot right back up.
Right,
okay, I'm ready.
This is an example of what I never want to do with the website. Okay.
Oh. Okay.
So, Major League Baseball. Right?
No.
Yeah,
we should totally do baseball.
No, that's not, we're gonna do baseball.
Come on, sports.
Okay. So I signed up for MLB.TV. Okay, which is the service that gives you every regular season game.
You want to watch the boys do the big hits in the next game?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, but hear this, okay? Say you're in LA or in Houston, which has the same basic setup, but I'll just use LA because it's the most apt example. So you buy MLB TV, and you're in Los Angeles. Guess what? You can't watch the Dodgers.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Why can't I watch the Dodgers? Okay, well here's why. Okay, so say you're like, okay, well it's blacked out on MLB TV, but if I get say I get a reslung cable subscription like Sling or YouTube TV, then it'll surely be on local television there, right? No, it won't
really
be. Yeah, so you can buy MLB TV and you can buy a reslung cable subscription, and you won't get your home team because they signed a deal that with Spectrum, just like the Astros signed a deal with AT&T to be the exclusive distributor of all of their home games. So now you can only watch, you can have lived in LA your whole life, been watching every single Dodgers game. You can only watch the Dodgers if you buy a Spectrum cable subscription. And because within the package of a Spectrum cable subscription is Sportsnet LA, which is the only channel that distributes Dodgers home games. Now, that is the epitome of what I'm talking about when you're talking about like, well, can't you just give me like one thing and can't everything be under one roof? It's like, but do you want it that way? Because I don't want to pay. I'd be willing to pay. If I was a Dodgers fan, I'd be willing to pay $40 a month or whatever, or $50 a month even, to like get all the Dodgers home games. But you have to buy Spectrum cable subscription to get it. So you have to pay whatever it is on top of that. And then, you know, of course, they'll be like, oh, well, it's only $29.99.
Well, what do you even do with the cable box?
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to resell you. Then they're going to be like, oh, plus you need our internet. Plus here, you need to get this bundle package where we install a phone line into your house that you're not going to use. To get
What house?
It's just so
Whose
convoluted.
house?
It's just so convoluted. I just want to get rid of all that and be like, look, if you want to watch quarter digital videos plus extra stuff that we've never been able to make before that we're going to now be able to make, and you want to get all of it directly, just this, and that's it, and keep it simple. Like, why can't it just be simple?
Why can't it just be simple, Jake? You know what? It can be simple,
Dude,
and it will be simple on corridordigital.com.
Yes. Thank you. The MLB's really burned my biscuits, man, because the only people who haven't signed these deals are bad teams. It's teams that have been consistently under 500 that are the only people that haven't signed these deals.
Hey, just to take things off of baseball for a second, Jake.
Okay.
I know. But and turn things positive for a second. I do want to give a shout out to all the people that have signed up to be beta users on the site, and help us kind of like get through the initial stages of launching this thing. You know, it started the whole green light feature with producer points and all that stuff where people can put their subscription money towards a show of their choice. And yeah, to those people that have been listening to the podcast here and have known about the site for a long time, those of you who have signed up, thank you for helping us kick the thing off. It's awesome. I'm glad to see it working. I love seeing everybody in the Hangouts when we do those. It's just really cool to see this thing starting to become a reality. And it's kind of a big leap, you know. It's like you can tell yourself like, well, if only I had a really good producing deal, I'd make a movie. If only I had this big old budget, I'd make a movie. And at a certain point, you're just like, I just got to make the thing. Yeah. And so this is us just going out and doing it ourselves, you know, and directly to you with your support, we can make what you guys want to see. So I'm super psyched about all that. Yeah. And if you haven't been to the site yet, go check it out. Corridordigital.com. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think.
It's still in beta. We're still messing with it, but it's a good first impression.
Done. It's almost done.
It's missing some of the cool key stuff with like all the exclusives.
Yeah, next week we're gonna drop all those.
All that a lot of them are shiny business.
A lot of them are ready to push, but I'm not gonna wait. I'm not gonna do that until they're all ready.
Yeah, all the exclusive new shows are still secret. So yeah, we'll see that soon.
Whew. Well,
good stuff.
Yes, great stuff. All right, well, guys, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna go make some hamburgers.
Nice. What are we gonna make tonight, Gideon?
Gideon, what do you want? You want pizza?
You want to play with the flashlight, or you want to eat pizza? All right.
You heard it first, folks. Dude, so you've been posting all those Instagrams of that pizza company, man. I'm gonna have to try them out.
Oh, so good. It's quarantine pizza. Yeah,
it's just people doing it from home, right?
You know, the whole COVID thing has exposed who the best chefs are in our city. I've seen a couple other like little people popping up tents, doing like just walk up stands in their front yards in my neighborhood. And it's like, they are some of the best chefs I've ever had in LA, because there are people so dedicated to the craft that they're willing to have a storefront in their front yard.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That is awesome.
Yeah, they get to do it without inspections. It's kind of a gamble. But but that's the thing. It turns out best 90% of the time.
Yeah, that's how everything starts, without inspections.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, gentlemen. It was really nice ending the workday with a cool conversation with all y'all. Hold up. Last thing. If you're listening to the audio only version of this podcast, I'm sorry, this last part requires a visual, but youtube.com/quartercast. All right, 1 second.
What is he gonna do? Where's he going?
Oh, I know what he's doing. He's got a photo.
Oh, just don't even say what it is. We're not even gonna say what it is. Just show it on screen and be completely silent. I know what this is. This is a Corridor Cast exclusive.
Here we go.
Wow, what a reveal.
Our founders.
What a reveal.
Look how cool we are. I have a dragon button-up shirt on.
I know.
And long hair and a bandana.
That's
Yeah.
the Niko I remember.
Yeah.
There.
I'm trying to figure out what Sam's wearing.
I'm wearing a Van Halen shirt.
Oh, you are.
Oh,
Indeed,
nice.
you are. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me take it out of the wax paper.
Sam was a bit of a
protective
rocker
wear.
back in the day.
I was a bit of a
Back in
rocker.
the day.
Yeah.
Doesn't do rock and roll anymore.
No more rocking and rolling.
Now he's a
Only
bit of a metal
bluegrass.
god.
All right, here, we can see it's not the wax paper ruining it. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Wow.
Look at that.
Our
Gloss.
founders.
Dude,
Our founders.
high gloss. I like how you guys both have the same like jeans and dark shirts on too. Like that.
Yeah.
Some nice coordination going into that photo shoot.
Yeah, it's a great photo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks, Sam's mom.
Yeah, who knew there was a better photo than the one we already have hanging in the studio?
Yeah.
Also taken by your mom.
Now-
Also
now
taken
we
by my
know.
mom. But the thing is that photo is living proof that two idiots with a camera can one day make videos that are still kind of stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Seriously, go out and do it. If you want to, go out and do it. It's going to take time. But if you like it, it shouldn't matter.
It's going to take enough time from you looking like that to looking like this.
Yep.
All right, guys. It's
All
been
right.
good.
Yeah, good talking to everybody. Thanks for listening,
Till
everyone.
next time.
See you in the next one.
Later.